Welcome to the Pixelmon 9.1.4 update. I am Pixel Snacks, and we have so much to cover in this update, from small quality of life changes to crazy, difficult ultra space changes. So let's immediately get started with some of the smaller new features. First off, starting a game for the first time, you will now see that a little notification appears in the top right corner of the screen telling you how to send out your Pokemon. This should be helpful to anyone starting the game for the first time. To get rid of it, just simply send out your Pokemon. You may suddenly see several Starly flying in the sky at once, or even several Ponyta forming a herd, and that is because Pokemon can now spawn in groups. This change impacts over 100 Pokemon, mostly unevolved Pokemon that you would expect to form flocks, herds, schools, packs, and pods. Battling these Pokemon won't start a horde battle, so you don't have to worry about getting ganged up on. And those of you with an eye for details may notice that Pokemon AI has been improved. When you send out one of your Pokemon, they will no longer immediately run away from you. Pokemon no longer spin when caught on the edge of a block, and are more decisive about where they are traveling to. Next up, a bunch of blocks have been updated. The boulder, small TV, large TV, and old TV, the fan, mower, washing machine, end table, and box have all been updated. The frozen shrine, static shrine, and fiery shrine have been remade in the block bench style too, along with the time space altar, Arc Chalice, and Ilex Shrine. All the items that come in several colors are updated, including the umbrella, folding chair, cushion chair, armchair, clock, couch, healer, PC, and trading machine. I want to pay special attention to the rugs, which have unique patterns depending on the color you choose, the water floats, which also have different styles depending on their color, and last but definitely not least, the vending machine, which looks just amazing and shows off the items you would typically find in the vending machines in the Pokemon games. I also really appreciate that it glows at night. And with those newly updated blocks, the Pixelmon team has also added in some new decorations. The Froggy chair is a new chair that you can sit in, and the cluttered box is a new variant of the box that already exists. The cloth table has been removed and replaced by the glass table. Also, if you love decorating your home with Minecraft's painting block, you'll find that 17 new Pixelmon themed artworks have been added as potential paintings. Finally, for all your building needs, the recipes for all the blocks made out of Ultra Sandstone and Ultra Space Stone, including any cut, chiseled, smooth, and polished variants, have been added into the game. And while I could show you how to craft the new decoration blocks and Ultra Space blocks, a fantastic new addition to Pixelmon is the use of the recipe book. As in normal Minecraft, picking up Pixelmon items in the world will now give you a little notification that you've learned how to craft something. So then items that you know how to craft or have already crafted will appear in the recipe book menu. And this is a great change because it will make the progression system of Pixelmon easier to step through, and you'll be reminded that all the cute decoration blocks and weird terrain blocks exist, so you can craft them and use them in your game. Oh, also a cute little egg hatching animation has been added. Next up, a new debug mode has been added. If you remember the previous debug modes like Vertex mode, we now have Sprite mode. You can activate it by pressing F3 and X, and as you can see, Pokemon now walk around in 2D. The sprites rotate with your perspective, so it's super helpful for finding Pokemon from above. And if you like it, there is a config option to force Minecraft to always render Pokemon this way. For battles, move particles are finally back. For any move that had a particle effect in 1.12.2, they have been fixed and battles are finally much more lively and colorful. Definitely be sure to check out all those nice water type moves. You might also notice that, by default, other wild Pokemon will no longer render. This is a config option that you can change in the graphics.yml file. You also see that when you throw a Pokeball in battle, the camera will follow the Pokeball, which should make it easier to see what is happening when you try to catch a Pokemon. The AI for Pokemon's entity in battles has been improved a bit too. The Pokemon will now always face each other in battle and won't wander around. All the Gen 9 TMs have been added to the game, along with the Gen 9 blank TM item, and the Pokemon Editor, an item only for creative mode, has had an import and export button added in the import-export menu, which will allow you to create and share teams using the PokePaste website. And so we've covered a bunch of nice smaller changes, but we are really just getting into the new content. The following Pokemon have been added to the game: Lechonk and Oinkologne, Necly, Knacklestack, and Garganacl, Smoliv, Doliv, and Arboliva, Glimmet and Glimora, Paldean Tauros in its combat, aqua, and blaze breeds, and lastly, Iron Moth, Slitherwings, and Iron Thorns. 29 new abilities from the Gen 9 games have been added to Pixelmon. Because they're the same from the games and you probably already know them so well, we won't go over every new ability here, but these include new abilities for the new Pokemon added, such as Purifying Salt for Garganacl, and abilities for Pokemon that aren't in Pixelmon yet. But thanks to the new sprite mode, Pokemon can be added to the game without needing a model. While they may not spawn in the world yet, you can give yourself Pokemon such as Palafin and Dodonzo, battle with them, and when you send them out in the world, they will default to using their sprites. Following along with all these new Pokemon and abilities, the moves Armor Cannon, Axe Kick, Bitter Blade, Doodle, Double Shock, Gigaton Hammer, Hyper Drill, Mortal Spin, Population Bomb, Raging Bull, Revival Blessing, Salt Cure, Silk Trap, Tidy Up, and Triple Dive have all been added to the game. The Auspicious Armor and Malicious Armor items have also been added. Several new sound effects have been added for 23 Pokemon, and if you are hard of hearing or just like using subtitles while playing Minecraft, you'll now be able to see that the cries of Pokemon appear. Next up, a new method to obtain the mythical Pokemon Meltan has been added. Instead of smelting a bunch of ore in a furnace, we now have the mystery box from Pokemon Go. This change is going to make getting Meltan definitely a late game task, as you will not have to craft a mystery box like this, with 6 netherite scrap, 1 ruby, 1 sapphire, and 1 nether star. But wait, we aren't done yet. You now have to place the box down and feed it 4 more netherite scrap, until finally we get this super cool animation and a bunch of Meltan start spawning. They won't all be Meltan though. A good portion will turn into Ditto upon capturing them, but don't worry if you don't capture any. The mystery box will just go on cooldown for 15 minutes, and then you can feed it more netherite scrap to try again. And of course, the Pixelmon team has planned ahead and made it so you can adjust some of these settings in the config and even integrated redstone into it. So a comparator will output to redstone as a function of the time remaining for Meltan to spawn. Meltan's method of evolution has also been adjusted in this update. No longer do you need to smelt 400 ores while Meltan is in your party, you now need to feed Meltan 400 iron nuggets, which I think is great because it is more in line with its Pokédex entry. And to make things easier, you can feed Meltan iron ingots and iron blocks too, which correspond to feeding it 9 nuggets and 81 nuggets respectively. If you open up the stats screen for Meltan, you can see how many nuggets you have fed it. Ultra Space. Ultra Space has been given quite the overhaul. It has been made more challenging and more oriented toward your late game experience. Upon entering Ultra Space for the first time, you'll complete the Final Frontier advancement. If you open the Advancements menu, you'll see that there is now a tab for advancements specific to Ultra Space. There are currently 4 more advancements to complete in Ultra Space, and I really hope they won't be too painful for you to discover. The Pokemon that spawn in Ultra Space have been changed. They are now mostly higher level evolved Pokemon, and this change impacts both wild Pokemon and Pokemon in raid dens. And the Pokemon that spawn in Ultra Space now spawn at levels twice of what you would see in the overworld. And of course, you can find a config option for that in the spawning.yml file to make it even higher if you want. So, not only are there tougher Pokemon, but all Pokemon in Ultra Space have been made aggressive. So you better be ready to fight 50 plus level Pokemon the moment you get into Ultra Space. An additional feature for this update, which will help out with Ultra Space, is that after a Pokemon battle, you will for 10 seconds be given the Avoidance effect, which is a new potion effect the Pixelmon team added. While it lasts, it will prevent Pokemon from challenging you to a battle. This is also a good time to mention that Repel has been added as a potion effect too, which will prevent Pokemon from spawning around the player. This is different from what the Repel items currently do. But we still aren't done with the aggressive changes to difficulty. There is now a 40% chance when a battle with a wild Pokemon starts in Ultra Space that it will become a horde battle. I can confirm that I have seen Ultra Beast spawn as one of these extra horde Pokemon, and so this is probably a good time to remind you that there are no Pokemon centers in Ultra Space, and if your Pokemon faint while in Ultra Space, you get sent back to the overworld. So, those are the difficulty changes. Pixelmon has also done a fantastic job of adding the Ultra Plant biome and the Ultra Crater biome. The Ultra Plant biome is a dark and cold biome that generates giant obsidian monoliths upon which tumblestone blocks and loot chests can spawn. Beneath them, structures in the shape of circuitry spawn, made out of blackstone and sea lantern blocks. Lightning strikes upon trying to harvest the sea lantern. I wonder why that could be. Maybe there is something inside the heads of the circuitries. Lots of electric type Pokemon spawn in the Ultra Plant biome, and be sure to check out the new raid den structures too. The Ultra Crater biome is quite the opposite from Ultra Plant. It is a bright and warm biome and much more difficult to traverse. Here, red colored monoliths and orange colored geysers comprise the landscape, mostly made of concrete and concrete powder. The geysers contain green colored water and magma at the bottom, so be very careful not to fall in or else the bubbles will suck you down to the bottom. I say that, but there are loot chests that spawn on the geysers, so you'll probably jump down there anyways. Lastly, Ultra Plant has large pipes that appear in it, made of bone, iron, or aluminum. But don't get greedy unless you have some milk, because half the time breaking a block from these pipes will give you blindness for 10 seconds, poison for 15 seconds, and then mining fatigue for a whole minute. Oh, and don't forget it will also poison your Pokemon, and you know, all the wild Pokemon still want to fight you. So thankfully, there are much less dangerous pipes to explore, made out of andesite, diorite, and granite, which don't poison you, and which connect together to make this very cool dungeon-like structure filled with loot and sometimes flooded with water. They also contain raid dens, and are honestly just very fun to explore. Finally, deep underground, close to bedrock, the Pixelmon team has added nests where a new block, the Pokemon egg, will spawn. Do you think there is a parent watching over these eggs? I wonder if there's a way to find out. If the challenge of Ultra Space has been a bit too daunting for you, I am happy to announce that another gym has been added. The Ghost Gym and Ghost Gym Town are now generating in the Soul Sand Valley biome in the Nether. The Pixelmon team has once again put in some amazing effort into this. As we have come to expect, the town features new styles of all the typical village structures. Churches, blacksmiths, farms. Of course, we have our Pokemon buildings, such as the Pokemon Center and the Pokemart. Everything fits just right in the Soul Sand landscape. The gym is this magnificent, ominous mausoleum that looks ready to spook you into leaving before you've even faced the gym leader. Everybody here has strong ghost types, and defeating the gym leader will earn yourself a ghost themed badge. There are 6 variants of gym leaders, so you can find other ghost type gyms to try your luck against different ghost type teams. So, that about covers all the major new content with this update. Next, we'll cover stuff for map makers and datapack creators, and important bug fixes that you've probably been waiting for. For the map makers, the Pixelmon spawner has been updated to support ability, boss, untradeable, uncatchable, unbattleable, ribbon, and min-max level Pokemon specs. For you datapack creators, you can give a custom Pokemon the tag undexable, which will make it so they don't show up in the Pokédex or affect how many Pokemon you need to catch to complete it. There is also the option to label the model Pokemon use as none, which will prevent a Pokemon's entity from rendering using a model, and instead attempt to use their sprite for rendering. For the new Pokemon that were added, a bunch of new evolution methods were added. You can evolve Pokemon by requiring them to use a move a certain number of times, requiring them to be inside a battle when they level up, requiring them to walk alongside you in the overworld for a certain number of blocks, requiring them to eat iron nuggets, and requiring them to evolve during a certain phase of the moon. And now to cover the most important bug fixes. Pokemon evolving into themselves or failing to evolve at all has been fixed. I'm not sure who plays in super flat worlds, but Pokemon were spawning and raining down from the sky, so that's been fixed. Raids will no longer crash while trying to revive Pokemon. There was also an issue where players couldn't catch raid Pokemon if they had 2 stacks or more of the same type of Pokeball in their inventory. The Christmas Veal has its own sprite now. Ditto not transforming during battle has been fixed, and fossil displays will drop the fossil they hold when broken. The item finder works again and points you towards items based on the durability it has. The fridge can hold items once again. Previously, you could not rename NPCs, so backspacing in that text box has been fixed. Alright, last bug. Zorua and Zoroark would use the incorrect particles depending on whether Pokemon were shiny or not, and that has been fixed. Finally, other particles that existed, such as using plates on the Archalice or using a Gracidia on Shaman, will display once again. So that is everything I think you need to know about version 9.1.4. There are of course a ton of other bug fixes, so if there is a specific bug fix you are looking for, I implore you to go check out Pixelmon's website, reforge.gg, and read their changelog. That concludes this video. As usual, like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for further updates on Pixelmon. Have fun with 9.1.4 everybody, and thanks for watching. See ya.